Hi guys, welcome back to FinPact. I wanted to inform you guys that did you know creditors can actually have the option on selling their claim for immediate liquidity? And with everything that's happened in the crypto markets, that's incredibly important. So today I'm here with Jean-Luc, who is a sales and trading analyst at Cherokee Acquisitions. Jean-Luc, would you please introduce yourself to the FinPactors?
Sure. I'm Jean-Luc Ramdin at Cherokee Acquisition / Claims Market. I'm an analyst there. And really, we help creditors in the FTX, BlockFi, Genesis, Celsius cases receive immediate liquidity for their claim for a variety of reasons. And that's the service we provide.
And obviously, we know that a lot of FTX creditors lost a lot of funds during the fiasco. So how exactly do you help them out here?
Yeah, sure. So it's fairly simple. We actually run the number one broker for that. And so creditors who, have a claim, let's say of $100,000, maybe they don't want to wait 2, 3, 5 years for the end of the case to receive a percentage that they don't know how much they're going to get in distributions from that debtor. And so, we offer them the option of trading those claims to large institutional funds who buy those claims. And so I think it's an option that many creditors have been utilizing, and it works for both parties.
So in a way, creditors are allowed to sell their debts on large institutions will buy them. And how is this better for the creditor than, well, selling it themselves?
Sure. Well, it's individual case by case basis. Some creditors would like the funds to, pay for certain expenses on a
Yeah.
regular basis, or maybe they're running businesses and they need the cash flow, or even so, they just see that it's going to be better for them from a opportunity cost standpoint and a time value for money standpoint to take those funds on now, and maybe they want to reinvest it back in the crypto markets,
Yeah.
and they see a more negative sort of conclusion to the case, and they would rather take their bets on having the money now.
So that's really interesting. So what is required for a creditor? What do they need to do to sell their claim?
Sure. So for a creditor in the FTX case, for example, that's something that's been, very, very prominent. I think there's 1.3 million creditors out there.
Yes.
And so, one thing that we would need is the customer code, because that customer code is within the Schedule F court docket. It's going to show their crypto assets from petition date, which was November the 11th.
Mhm.
And so that way we can calculate the size of their claim from bankruptcy date, and then, offer the percentage there, and they can see what they can receive in liquidity. As well as that, KYC is obviously important with the portal that has now been live for a few weeks. So that's something where we need to ensure that, the KYC is being done, and that they can successfully access that account. And then once we have that information and package, we can go ahead and, form something called the simple assignment of claim. It's very simple. That's just simply a document that's going to reflect their crypto assets from petition date, the payment that they would receive, and that payment is made when listed on our platform within 2 business days of a trade being confirmed. So you can see how quickly that process is from step A to step Z. In fact, that can take, like I said, sort of 2 to 5 business days from the very start to actually receiving payment. So it's very fast, very efficient. And I'd say the one thing great about Claims Market is that it's a platform where buyers are competing and bidding. This is something where they're fighting with each other to get you pretty much the best price. And so there's no other place out there that has got transactions so fast and so successfully for creditors.
So, I actually, before I worked in the cryptocurrency Web3 blockchain space, I was a debt analyst. So I remember pricing was incredibly important. Now, you've already mentioned that you would look at the size of the claim. Do you do any sort of due diligence? Is the jurisdiction important depending on where the creditor is based? How do you sort of assess that? I mean, there must be different pricing variables.
Yeah, sure. That's a good question. And so, there's sort of 2 or 3 main factors when it comes to pricing. I'd say it's the size of the claim, and the preference preference risk is very important. Now,
What do you
what
mean
is
by
preference?
preference risk?
Yeah, sure. Good question. I thought that was coming. So, preference is simply it's a bankruptcy rule that has been there for quite a long time now. And it
Okay.
basically states that 90 days before petition date, so for FTX, November the 11th to August the 12th, that the debtor was operating an insolvent operation, that they were illiquid, meaning that any funds that were withdrew from the account within those 90 days are deemed as property of the estate, not the creditor. That is something that a lot of creditors are unaware of. And obviously, at that time, you don't realize that that is the situation.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that if I was a creditor. So those 90 days, they can't withdraw any of their, well, the funds that they withdraw belong to, say, FTX in this case.
That is the sort of traditional bankruptcy rule that has been in place, but there's all sorts of back and forths throughout, on a case by case basis throughout the case in terms of how is preference going to be deemed, because in Celsius, for example, any net withdrawals after $100,000 are actually, so let me clarify, gross withdrawals after $100,000 in those 90 days are actually, that preference is asserted there. But for below $100,000 in gross, that is something that is no problem whatsoever. There is no preference risk. So it is different on a case-by-case basis. With FTX so far, the sort of stance or interpretation is that they will have a strong view on preference, meaning that they may be quite aggressive with that. So preference risk is definitely something that we calculate from a diligence standpoint, going through the transactions, and it will have a slight change in price. I can give you an example for claims at this point in time above 3 million in FTX, net deposits, the range is around 38 to 43%, but for net withdrawal accounts within those 90 days, it's around 33 to 38. However, that is just an approximate pricing. We have listed claims higher. We have listed claims within that range. So it definitely does depend.
So how does a claim, how does the claim pass? I mean, I think you just touched upon it, but how does the transfer go through? How does it get docketed? What's the process behind that?
Yeah, no, completely understand. And this is a new process for creditors in crypto. They've never really been through this.
No, there hasn't been. Can you believe it? We've got an
Exactly.
entire, financial products that we saw in traditional finance coming to crypto. I mean, I'm all for it.
Yeah, sure. And so I think that education is really important, and that's what Cherokee believe in. And that is why we honestly do these interviews so people can have more understanding. But just in sort of short, a bankruptcy claim, it can only be transferred pursuant to a transfer on the court docket. And that is pursuant to bankruptcy rule 3001E. So just in simple terms, any transfers on the court docket are governed by the federal court. So that is something that sellers actually have protection from the federal court when selling their claim. So in terms of the docketing of that, a proof of claim is something that we encourage sellers to file. And the proof of claim is going to assert what the creditor believes is owed to them from the debtor. That document will have a proof of claim number, and then that number will be on a document called the evidence of transfer in the court docket. So let's say you have $100,000 in FTX, you'll file a POC. That POC number is then in the evidence of transfer document in the court docket, and it will simply state seller A, it won't say the amount, but let's say $100,000 claim. That claim is being transferred in ownership to party B. And that is something that's public in the court docket, but certain information, of course, are redacted.
Okay, so as a FinPack user, let's say someone has a claim with FTX, they've lost a lot of their funds. So you're saying they have to file this proof of claim. Who do they file it with? We want to keep it as simple as possible so that they know, do you file that? Does Cherokee Acquisitions file it for them? or are they supposed to file it with the court, or who is it with?
Sure, yeah. So actually in FTX in the portal, you can actually file a proof of claim. Each creditor can do so. And that is through the court administrator, which is Kroll.
Okay, perfect. So I mean, when I read up on this, you require a brief exclusive listing period. Can you explain first of all what that is, and
Sure.
how does a user get one?
Yeah, sure. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen with you guys, so you can see our website. And so if you come over to transaction history, you'll see that we are the only broker really out there with transparent transactions and price history, which is very, very important. So you can see the date that something was listed and when it was sold. And so this was literally today, a few hours ago, actually.
So these are, I mean, there are claims over $1 million that are being bought by these large institutions. So these poor investors that, lost money with FTX and Celsius Network are able to sell their claims and get their money back.
Exactly that. Yeah. And they can get a percentage of their money back, without a doubt. And as you can tell, this was listed yesterday and it was sold today. So in terms of liquidity and actual trades confirmed, that's the good thing about claims markets, is that because of that competition that we have. And the thing is buyers and sellers have both signed documentation, which is the simple assignment of claim, and buyers have signed so that they are onboarded to the platform. So it's not a case of you're listing your claim like an eBay marketplace and you're saying, hey, this is my $1 million claim, who wants to buy? And you're getting 20%, 25%. That's sort of a business model that isn't as executionable as something where buyers have already signed documents that says, hey, if I buy this claim at 25%, 30%, 40%, which is what the seller listed at, then I am obliged to send those funds within 2 business days. And so that is why that we have that level of liquidity and transactions that are successful.
Wow. Well, this is brilliant. I mean, I just saw on your transactions drop down list just there. BlockFi, if you could click on that for a second. Yep, that's it. BlockFi, Celsius, I mean, Voyager Digital. I mean, I made plenty of videos. All of us on, during the bull run really believed, that nothing would go wrong. And I think, as someone who speaks in the industry, I owe it to my subscribers and people out there that there is actually a way you can sell your claim and get your funds back, especially if you need it, if you are running a business or you need the liquidity right now. That's where Cherokee acquisition comes in. Now, moving away from onto a general market perspective, did you ever think this would happen? Did you ever think a lot of these major institutions would go bankrupt? And how does that change the landscape going forward in the cryptocurrency industry? Do you think people are going to be more cautious? What are your views on the overall landscape?
Sure. Well, I think it's a tough question to ask, especially sort of being in that space, and seeing what's going on. But what I can say is that there have, when crypto is down and people are struggling in that sense, obviously a lot of the exchanges, that it sort of exposed what their actual accounts looks like. And there's always this back and forth between the US government entities and Coinbase and Kraken and Binance and this sort of thing of proof of reserves and how much liquidity do they actually have. And so I think it's important that people are secure with their crypto assets, and they really put them in the right places and just stay attuned to the space, because you can't always completely avoid being a part of a Chapter 11 case. We don't really know, but what you can do is you can educate yourself on what are my options now that I'm in this situation. And typical Chapter 11s, they can last 1.5 to 2 years, but as you know, in crypto, especially the large cases, that can be prolonged, and that percentage paid out it's changeable all the time due to fundamentals. I remember in sort of January, February time, Celsius was trading in a very low, less than 15% for some claims. And then 2 or 3 months later, it was almost double. But then again, there's more news that can come out and affect the whole claims market space. So yeah, it's very dependent, but each individual has their own views and reasons why they may
Yeah.
sell.
No, I think that was really well said. I really like the part you said about, now that it's happened, what are people's options out there? I think what happened in the crypto industry reminds me of the 2008 financial crisis. A lot of bad debt was sold, lack of regulations. And now that the industry's landscape, regulatory controls are changing, people are becoming more and more cautious. I think that hopefully they put their money in the right places, they do their due diligence, and if they were unlucky and they have a claim that they want to sell, well, then I hope they come to Cherokee Acquisitions for that. It was really lovely having you on FinPact. And do you have any last things to say before we round this up?
Yeah, no, I would just say, have a look at the claims market sites, claims-market.com. You'll see transparent pricing, you'll see transactions there. And also have a look at our YouTube video. It has, well, videos, it has very educational information on the company, but also like selling and the process of the documentation, which is really important. And I would also, follow us on LinkedIn, Cherokee Acquisition. And
I'll link all of this down below in the description
exactly,
box,
as
so
well as
don't worry.
the Twitter page. Yeah, you can tell I'm promoting like as if I'm
No worries. We've got
news
all the
channel.
details. We'll put them down below in the
Yeah.
description box. So yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I appreciate your time, Anika, and FinPact. I really enjoyed this. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jean-Luc. I'll see you later.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.